Da, 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 da. Computer, you have to work.
Oh boy.
Computer recording. Chun, 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 chun. Okay, Brian said that he is me in few minutes. Awesome! We are live recording. Woohoo! Very good. So just to start, today is May 9th, and we are doing this beautiful book club, and the book is called Renunciation. It's another book by the Spirit of Emmanuel, and the medium was Chico Xavier or Chico Xavier. And we are almost finished with the book. Today we are doing a super summary, and our friend Yvonne will be doing the part 2, chapter 3 and 4, and we will all be helping her out. So I just would like to start with a short prayer to inspire all of us to connect us with Alcione, the main person in the book, and she's an enlightened spirit, and wherever she is, she will inspire all of us. So let's close our eyes if we feel comfortable. And God, our Mother and Father, thank you so much for bringing us together to finalize this beautiful book. We ask your inspiration, guidance, your help. So especially our friend Yvonne and all of us can help her out so we can summarize the most important points of these 2 chapters we will be studying tonight. And our brothers and sisters can listen to it and also appreciate. Thank you. So be it.
So be it.
Very good. So let's go. Exciting. So let's
Oh, by
have
the
a
way,
review.
by the way, I gotta tell you that last Thursday, when we did the heaven and hell, that was a great presentation from Yvonne and Julio. I love
Thank you. Thank you.
that
Yes.
was very good, really. I also enjoyed it very much. It
Yes.
is so good, they get into the point and they make comments, and
Yes.
this is great. Oh wait, what is
Yes,
Brian?
Brian.
Here's Brian.
Ah, very good. There he is.
Sorry, I was doing plenitude with Love and Light up in New Jersey. So we just finished our closing prayer.
Wow, you guys are you're as busy as I am. I'm very busy with 1,000 things, but you are very focused and spirit is busy.
Yeah, I've been doing like plenitude on Monday. Let's see, Seed of Light on Tuesday. Wednesday I have a day off, and then the double up today, and then I got the planetary transitions on Sunday. Again with plenitude.
Well, so we all have to help Yvonne today because she's doing 2 chapters, and it was almost like last minute. So really quickly, Sonia, do you remember what were the most important items from last time we did the book? Just a short summary.
Last time we did the book, Alcione found out that her father found her, but he doesn't know that she is his daughter. And this priest, Father William, helped her get work at their house
Damiano.
to, excuse me?
Father Damiano.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Father Damiano talked to Father William. Father William is the one that, Father William is the one that knows the family, the Davenport family, and she's going to take care of her little sister, which they don't know, but that's what's happening. She's helping her, being her tutor, and she knows that's her father, and the Susanna is not very, very nice, but she is trying to get rid of her, but she can because Cyril feels an attraction to her, and it's his fatherly attraction. So
Wow.
that's how we left.
Very good. Awesome. So let's go, Yvonne. So now
Okay,
that we know the plot.
And
what's
one more thing about chapter 2. At the end of the chapter 2, Father Damiano and Alcyone figured out that Susanna had schemed with Antero to trick Cyril into thinking that Magdalena had died
Yes.
in the smallpox plague in Paris.
Yes, she finds out what happened.
Right. But
okay.
they
So
don't
let's
want
remind the people, how did they find out?
Because they started talking about where they came from, and Alcyone knew it.
How Alcyone found out that Magdalena did something?
that Susanna.
Susanna.
Susanna. Well, they figured out that she was one of the They figured out that she was one of the culprits of the disappearance, supposedly, or the death of Magdalena and the death of Cyril in America, going to America.
But that's the thing. How did they discover this? How did they discover she had something to do with these two items?
Oh, because Father Almiano, they started talking to Cyril and James, which is Susanna's uncle, and they started talking about where they were from and how they come, and that he had lost his wife, and that Alcyone looked like Magdalena. So that's where they brought it up.
Yeah, no, but we are going on. How did Alcyone discover Susanna is the one who create the plot? How did she discover? Like right now, she discovered that's her father, yes, and then how she knows Susanna did something to separate her mother and father. Do you guys remember? That's what I was like. Something there is a little detail. Brian, maybe you remember.
Well,
the one thing that comes to my mind is how she gets very agitated when they were doing the gospel in the home, but yet because originally she was very resistant to it, but as Alcyone starts opening up and talking to her, you can see that that's kind of what her way into Susanna's heart is. She's saying, oh my God, there is a chance for redemption, because she is a very guilty spirit. And it shows up all over the place.
No, but even before that, in the previous chapter, Alcyone talks to the priest, and she says, I know he's my father, but I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to cause trouble in the house with Susanna. And she already knows Susanna is the one who separated the mother and father. I just don't remember how. How Alcyone knows. She already knows that's her father, and the name, and she remembers also. She remembers also the names her mother used to mention. So she knows, oh, Susanna, my mother used to mention his name.
And also Father Damiano, before he gets really sick, he pays a visit to them and asks different questions. And so he's kind of like asking things from a different point of view, and he was able to corroborate Alcyone's thoughts, because he was asking about their previous the priest and everything else that was the contact and everything else. So he was able to find out that Cyril used to live in, because he was finding out the bits and pieces that corroborated.
Okay, that must be.
Right.
So her Father Damiano and Alcione together really pieced it out and figured out that it was truly them, because of not only just because the names match up and mannerisms and things like this, but
Yeah.
and then later on, I think when Father Damiano goes over there, he talks. I think he gets a chance to talk to James, that was from Blois, and then that's when things start finding out that it's like, oh yes, we heard they died, and part of the because of the smallpox, and that was the link in, because it's like, oh, I had smallpox, so I was here for that, and then same with James, and they were discussing that.
Okay, so that's it. So now I remember the plot. Okay, very good. So we are in chapter 3. So let's go. Yvonne.
Okay, chapter 3, Trials of Faith is the title. And, I broke it down into 4 parts, the chapter. So I'll just tell you like a summary of what this chapter is about. The first part is going to talk about Cyril's life in America just before he went to Paris. Then we're going to talk about Alcione's job as a tutor in the Davenport family. That's, her father and I guess. And then we're going to talk about Alcione's comments at a gospel at home study group with the Davenport family, and then about Father Damiano's last hours. He dies. Okay, so we go back at the beginning of the chapter, we go back a little in time to give us a bird's eye view of what the Davenport life is like in America prior to them coming coming back to Paris. Cyril yielded to his family's insistence that he should marry his cousin Susanna, since his wife supposedly had died some time ago from smallpox plague in Paris. As we know, that did not happen. So they both lived with Susanna's father, James, and they had a child, Beatrice, shortly after they were married. But even though he's married, Cyril is still grieving the loss of Magdalena. And so he goes to work, he works a lot, and no matter how hard Susanna tries to please him, he finds fault with her. So they end up quarreling a lot, and she'd go off to her room and he'd go elsewhere and think how different it would have been had he still been married to Magdalena. Like I say, he's really dedicated to his work, and over time he has become a wealthy person in the Americas. His daughter Beatrice is the joy of his life, and she does anything. She gets away with everything with him. She's spoiled. But the daughter and the mother, however, they don't get along at all. And I think part of it is Cyril's fault, because whatever Beatrice says goes. And so he sides with the daughter against Susanna. So Beatrice, I'm sorry. So Susanna also is not feeling happy in her marriage. She feels like a criminal. She's not getting the love she thought she would get from Cyril. And, it's not a good life for them. It gets to the point where they actually receive counsel from a priest, and the priest introduced gospel at home reading, to help stabilize the family. Cyril finds that it's helpful for him, but Susanna, she just feels everything she reads, she feels accused. Everything she reads, she feels it's, that somebody's accusing her. So she feels really guilty about everything. So after a while, Beatrice started to have a nervous disorder. She showed signs of a nervous disorder. And so they decided to move back to Paris. Susanna didn't want to go to Paris for good reason, because that's the scene of the crime. But
Yeah.
he was adamant about it. And yeah, so they go back, they go back to Paris, which is where Cyril had last seen his wife. Okay, so now we switch to Paris, and this, as we know, Alcyone has is working with the Davenport family, and she is the au pair for Beatrice.
Yeah.
And Alcyone notices that there's disharmony in the family, in the home. They don't get along very well, the husband and wife. But James, that is Susanna's father, and Cyril were delighted to have Alcyone, because she reminded both of them, I think, of Magdalena, because Alcyone looked like her mother. And she had such a sweet and loving disposition too. And under her tutelage, Beatrice, her condition improved. On the other hand, Susanna didn't like her, maybe hated her, because again, her mannerisms reminded her of Magdalena. And she was also jealous of the attention that Cyril and Beatrice gave her, So, but no matter how harshly Susanna treated Alcyone, Alcyone was always willing to do anything. And this just irritated Susanna to no end.
Oh gosh.
So, and she was really picky. She'd tell Susanna to do things that she wasn't really supposed to do, and Susanna would say, "Oh, sure, is that all?" So
Angel.
yeah, she was like an angel. She didn't have a mean bone in her body. So one day, Susanna told her that she had to fill in for the washerwoman because the woman was sick, and Alcyone cheerfully said, "Okay." And she started to do the wash. Well, Beatrice noticed and ran to her father and said, "Imagine, mom's asking Alcyone to wash. You believe this? This is, we're talking 1600s, that's just unheard of." And so the father rushes in and says, "What are you doing, Susanna?" And berating her in front of Alcyone, and Susanna started to cry because they were ganging up against her. And Alcyone stepped in. She said, "Oh, don't blame Susanna. I was the one who offered to do the wash."
Oh my God. No, but wait a minute. We have to remember the wash in the, what is it, 1700s, 1800s?
1681.
1684 or something. Yeah. So yeah.
Imagine 1600. So
Right.
it's not them going to the washroom, carrying the clothes and putting soap and pressing a button. It's something totally different.
Exactly.
Totally different. It's a super hard work. It's very difficult for in that time. So yes, she's an angel.
And so when she was washing, Beatrice actually came in to help her, and Alcyone used it as a teaching moment for Beatrice, because Beatrice was saying, "Why do you have to do it?" And then Alcyone brought in Jesus's teachings from Jesus to say, Jesus was able to do many things in his life. He was a carpenter. He attended to high-level intellectuals, but he also washed the feet of Peter and things like that. So, never despair of the kind of work you have to do. Just do what you have to do.
Angel.
She was an angel. So about a year later, Susanna fell ill, and Alcyone devoted her time in taking care for her. And over time, Susanna and Alcyone became friends because, she was such a sweet person. You just could not hate her. And they all wanted Alcyone to move in with them, but she declined, and she said, my mom's sick. They also wanted to meet her mother. And again, Alcyone didn't want that to happen because, as we know, they wanted to keep them. They didn't want they didn't want her mother to meet the Davenports because she knew
disaster.
it was going to be a disaster. So she deflected. She said, maybe when my mom's better, we can, we'll set it up. But right now, it's not a good time. So in the meantime, Beatrice, she's better. She has recovered her health, and her father could not be happier. He's also feeling very calm and serene, and not as agitated or, as he was in the past, just because of Alcyone's presence. She just had this calming effect on everyone. So they started doing the gospel at home again in the family. And so they, this is the same study that they had done in the Americas. And so they invited Alcyone to attend one of their studies. And so I'm gonna kind of rush through this because I don't know, we're at 9:30. So they asked a lot of questions, and Alcyone was able to answer all of them. Like Cyril asked why he wondered why they had to do gospel at home, because why can't you go to the church and do it? That's the place for it. Furthermore, it's the priest's job to do this, not the parishioners. So Alcyone had to disagree and say that wherever you are, you're in your Father's home. It doesn't matter where, and that each of us individually has his or her own journey towards God. So we shouldn't leave it up to the priest to help us. It's our individual journey. So they were impressed with her answers. And Cyril understood that the home was not just a place for happiness on earth, but also a place for enriching our spiritual gifts. And, for him, earth was a place of misery. But now, once Alcyone explained that the home is a place of spiritual growth, he understood that this is an opportunity for him to start focusing on happiness within the house.
And this is until nowadays. That's why it's so important for spiritists to do the God at home, gospel at home, because we leave our home, we face so many troubles at work, with bad neighbors, with all kinds of issues, and we come home exhausted, and that's a way of recharging our batteries and also protecting our home, so the obsessors of lower spirits, they feel the good vibration and they cannot come in. So yes, it's really, really good.
Also, Susanna was also moved by Alcyone's explanation, because she said in the past she felt like a sinner, when she read any of the Bible lessons. But when Alcyone said that the gospel message is about salvation, it's never about torment, then, she resonated with that. Alcione pointed out that if you remember, Paul was a persecutor, Mary Magdalene was a sinner, but Jesus, that didn't stop Jesus from assigning them very important missions. Like Paul his mission was to introduce Christianity to the Gentiles, and Mary Magdalene was about the resurrection or something like that. So Susanna, was comforted that even though she had been a sinner, that God would still accept her, because in the church at the time, when she went to the priests and confessed, then they would tell her, they would never say that, they would say something horrible to her, so she wouldn't feel any better by confessing. She just feel like a worse sinner. Okay, the other thing was talking about living without hope. That hope that Jesus' mission was one of love and hope, and that humanity today, well, at the time and today also, they're living without hope. They don't understand what Jesus did for us and how we can redeem our sins. And so she said something to the effect that, you're the same way you abuse your body, or the same way you have to take care of your body, otherwise it's gonna fail you. If you do drugs, or you don't eat sensibly, or you don't get enough rest, kind of thing, your body breaks down. Similarly, you have to take care of your soul also. You have to nourish it, and if you don't, like your body, it's also going to it's going to cause imbalances, and to remedy that, it can be quite painful, which of course I'm thinking Susanna, she needs to redeem her soul, because she has done some things that she's very unhappy about, but she doesn't really know why. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to mention that there were like little nuggets within the chapter. There were just things that stood out. One of the things that Alcione said was, studying the holy writings are like fishing for heavenly delight. Studying the holy writings is like fishing for heavenly delight. So I just found that to be a profound statement. Like, if you are going fishing and you're talking or whatever, you're not going to attract any fish. You have to be quiet and calm and collected and focus on what you're doing. Similarly, if you're just reading the Bible just to justify some point that you want to make, or some belief that you have, and not delving into it, you're not going to really come away with understanding what the Bible is about. So I was just impressed by that.
That's beautiful. Beautiful saying. Profound.
Okay, so she said a lot more things. In the end, the whole family were ecstatic about her, the way she interpreted the Bible, and each one had a takeaway as to how they can improve their lives.
I remember the family gets so excited that they can't wait to do the God at home. They like, oh, we have to go. We have to do the God at home. So they went from not really enjoying, especially the father, to really like, oh, this is great. Let's go.
Okay. And so so that's more or less the story about Gospel at Home. And then in the end, Father Damiano is dying, and he reminds Alcyone not to share the information they know about the Davenports. And I guess there's not much to it, there's not much to say about that. So I'm just going to go to chapter 4 now, which is
Yes.
the
So poor Padre Damiano, he was such a good friend,
yes.
and painful to have to say goodbye.
Oh, one thing that I remember about his the last moments or last hours of his death, that he was visited by children from Spain, Castilla, where he had lived, but they had died like years ago. So he was, they came for him when he died, kind of came to greet him. So
So the spirits of the children.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was sweet.
Wow, powerful.
Okay, so we go to chapter 4. It's called Reunion. So a year after Father Damiano's death, Charles Clenahan, as you remember, he is the one from the beginning of the book that was called Pollux. Was he called Pollux back then? And in the spirit world, he and Alcyone had been friends.
Yes.
And Alcyone came back to Earth. They both came back to Earth, and this is his name is now Charles Cunningham. So he was in love with Alcyone back in the spirit world, and now in this life in the 1600s, they've met, and he is still in love with Alcyone. Of course, he doesn't know about the past. Neither one does, but they know. But Alcyone knows there's a strong connection there.
Yeah, so they both feel this attraction, even almost like love. But Alcyone, she has this love more like a brotherly love, because she understands that he's a priest, and that he has to protect, and he has to behave like a priest. And even if his uncle, the uncle of this new priest, this young man around 30 something, 30 something, I think.
Yes.
The uncle said, oh, but he was never really good with this. He was forced to be into, so maybe it's okay for him to leave. And Alcyone, no. And she mentions like it might be in a previous life that we don't remember. Something happened, and that's why he had to come back, like in the priesthood. So even if I also believe it is something not fair, but if he is already a priest, so I will continue myself, dedicate to Jesus, and he should do the same. I remember reading that and like, oh my God, I am in love with this man. I meet him. He's a priest. And I'm gonna tell this to him. I would be like, oh gosh, that's really tough. Especially if the other one is saying, I will give up the priesthood to become a normal man and to find a job. It's like, oh my God, this is just to see how strong she is, how strong-willed she is. She's like, I love you, but you're a priest. And then another thing, she tells him, if in the future something changes, maybe we can think about. God. Wow. Okay.
Okay, you're kind of saying some of the things that will come out in this chapter, as we will see. So it's a year after Father Damiano's death, and Father Charles, visits Alcyone. One day he knocks on her door. He was in Spain and she's in Paris, so he had left the priesthood. He renounced the priesthood. He just got up one day and said, I'm gone. Didn't get any approval from anyone. He just decided on his own. And the reason for that is while Father Damiano, now he was kind of Father Damiano's ward. So Father Damiano had sent him letters, you know, all along while he was alive, but now Father Damiano is gone, so he doesn't feel that obligation or duty anymore. And his mind, in his mind, he's like, I'm gonna go get Alcione, I'm gonna take care of her. I know she doesn't really agree with it, but maybe after all these years, maybe she will change her mind. So that's his thought going. You know, he wants to be a husband and a father, and he thinks that you know, he has a chance. So he's greeted by his by Robbie and Alcione's mom, Magdalena, and he tells Magdalena, I'm still in love with your daughter, and you know, you could go back to Castilla, to Spain, and I know you love that place, and you know, that would be a great thing. I could take care of you and Robbie, and everything will be just fine. So we could buy a farm, you know. So he's telling Alcione's mom all the things she wants to hear, how life would be perfect if they went back to Spain. So Magdalena, you know, she's ecstatic too. She'd love to do that, but she says it's up to Alcione. I can't decide that. So when Alcione comes home that evening, I mean, she's shocked to see him, and even more shocked to hear that he left the priesthood. And she was like, how could you do something like that? You know, you had a duty, you had an obligation, and you gave it up. And he said, well, you know, I'm only human, and I've always loved you, and I can do this for you. I can take care of your mom and Robbie, and you look so exhausted, and you know, life would be so much better if you came with us. So she says, you know, I don't condemn you for wanting to do it. And in her heart, Alcione she's really torn. You know, she really loves this man, and but she just cannot do what she wants him to do, that he wants her to do. And even Magdalena steps in and says, you know, he's offering a way for us to go back to Spain, and we could all be together there, and maybe my health will get better. So even Magdalena is trying to convince Alcione.
Oh my God. Even the mother. Oh, that's
And then Alcione says, I'm sorry, it can't happen. You know, she's thinking about the family, the Davenport family, how she's been nurturing them in her own way. And she has to take care of her mom. And she just thinks that this is not the right time to take a step like that. She has an obligation here. She can't just walk away from that family. And, you know, she actually dissolves into tears because, you know, this is a really hard decision for her to make. And Charles, on the other hand, he is, you know, he's an emotional man. He starts thinking, oh, maybe there's another reason why you don't want to leave. Maybe there's something holding you here in Paris why you don't want to go. You know, so jealousy is coming out. So
yeah, I was just about to say that. Hey, jealousy.
So he's thinking, you know, what a fool I've been. Maybe I shouldn't even have taken this trip. So anyway, the following day, so he's now, you know, he thinks that something is going on. So he decides that the following day he's gonna watch where Alcione goes, because you know he hears a little about the people she's working for, but he wants to know a little bit more. So he he spies on her, watches when she leaves the house. Now, if you remember, Alcyone wouldn't have the Davenport carriage meet her at her house for good reason. They did, because she didn't want them to know
when she
Sí,
leaves.
Magdalena.
so they would meet down the road somewhere. And Charles is seeing all this and saying, no, why is she meeting, like this? And they're relatively poor. They're not rich or anything like that. And here's this very expensive carriage that's picking her up and takes her to this wealthy neighborhood, to this mansion, and some man comes out and embraces her.
Yeah. Oh my God. Uh-oh.
So his jealousy is justified. It's like, ha! I knew it. She's not as innocent as she says she is. She is. She's not innocent at all, and he is furious and jealous, of course, and angry and everything. So he goes back to the house and to Magdalena's house. Alcyone is at work and he goes to Magdalena and he starts asking Magdalena, so who is this family that she works for? Have you ever met them? And she's saying, no, I haven't met them. And so his suspicion is further confirmed that, she's up to something. She's probably, I don't know, maybe she's a kept woman or
Like
something.
an older man.
Yeah. So he doesn't want to show them that he's so angry, but he's really angry about it. And Magdalena kind of picks up that, he's not happy. And then he says, I'm leaving. I'm going, I have to go someplace else. I didn't really want to come. No, I wasn't, he says, she says something like, I was just in the neighborhood and it wasn't, like he's fluffing it off as if it's no big deal. It's like, I had other things to do anyway. And, I'm going to go. So he takes off.
So I believe he leaves Paris, isn't it? He leaves Paris and he goes back to Spain angry and...
Yes, very angry with Alcyone, convinced that she's having a relationship with somebody else. And, she wasn't true to him. So when Alcyone comes home and Magdalena tells her that he has left, she's surprised that he has already left. And what else? So he's gone. So a few days later, Magdalena gets worse. She's sick and she feels that she's dying or something. And she says, ever since Cyril left, she has felt no pleasure in life, except for, of course, Alcyone. She's been the only joy in her life, and she feels she'll be reunited with Cyril shortly because she's dying, and he's already dead, she thinks, and so the both of them will. So Alcyone is like, oh my gosh, and she's crying. Alcyone is crying because she can't really say what the truth is.
Oh,
And
God. What a crazy thing.
Magdalena says, there are just a few things I'd like to happen before I die, because I think it's happening soon. I want to go visit my parents' grave, and I want to meet Susanna. I want to meet your employer.
Uh-oh.
And so of course, Alcyone is like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do now? And he kind of convinced her that, you're really sick right now. Maybe we shouldn't go to the grave. And, when you're feeling a little better, we can meet the employee of my employer, Susanna. And then she says, why don't I think I'd like to get a harp so we can harpsichord, something like that. so that we can sing songs that reminds you of when you were in Spain, because I know when you were in Spain, you were a lot happier when Father Damiano was around and things like that. So she goes to the Davenports and she tells them, I'd like to buy this instrument so that I can play for my mom. And so can you advance my wages so I can buy one? So Cyril says, that's okay. I'll, you can have one. Furthermore, Beatrice wanted to give you one anyway. So anyway, they what time is it? Oops. Yeah. So anyway, she doesn't die right away, but a few weeks later, she's on her dying deathbed, and she says, okay, can you bring, she says to Magdalena says to Alcyone, can you bring Cyril's books that he left when he went away and some other things? And Father Damiano appears to her, right? So he's in the spirit world, but he comes and she says, oh, Father Damiano, you're here. And then her mother, Magdalena's mother, appears. It's like, oh, mother, you're here. And she says, where is Cyril? And then the spirit of the mother says, he's coming tomorrow. And as luck would have it, by the way circumstances worked out, the Davenports, the whole family, decide to come and visit, find out where they live, came to visit because Alcyone hadn't seen them in 5 days. And they said, we got to go see her. So they all go. And at that moment, when they come to the house,
I think the most dramatic. I think this is the strongest moment of the book. I remember my heart just like boom, 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 boom.
So
Magdalena is hallucinating. So
Magdalena is saying, "Oh, Cyril, you're here," and and really he is here because the whole family came to visit.
Oh my God!
So when they hear Magdalena shouting, Cyril, Alcyone says, well, my mom's kind of delirious and she doesn't know what she's doing. But anyway, they finally, Cyril goes into the room and finds that, oh my God, it is Magdalena. And so he is just shocked and doesn't even know how to react, And then he notices that Susanna, on the other hand, is kind of shrinking away, and he's kind of, do you know what's going on here? And so he has kind of have an inkling of what's going on, but he doesn't really know, but he knows that there's something not right. Anyway, Magdalena dies. Cyril took care of the funeral, and just did it quite elegantly and everything like that. And then Cyril says, Susanna, you and I have to have a talk, but I want everyone to be here because I think you might have something to tell us. So in the end, Susanna confesses that what had happened, how they had talked about, how he died and everything else. And he is so grief-stricken over it. He was gonna kill her. He took out the dagger and he's gonna kill her. And Alcyone stepped in and said, no, think about Jesus, But he never recovers from it. And he actually took sick and died, I think, within 24 hours or something like that.
Wait. Who died in 24 hours?
Cyril dies.
Oh, Cyril dies in 24 hours.
Yeah, shortly. Yeah, because
he has like a stroke or an embolism or something like that is not because of the stress.
Yeah.
From the stress of finding out that Magdalena was alive.
So immediately. Oh my God. That's why Magdalena saw him. Oh, he's coming tomorrow.
Yeah, he did. But the mother had seen it, right? So so in death, both he and Magdalena, they're buried side by side, you know. So I think I'm missing a few, like, so at the funeral also, Susanna just started shrieking. She went mad.
Oh, yeah. I think she loses her mind.
Yeah.
She
she has a mental breakdown.
never becomes normal again.
He confesses
But
to
she
what
lasts
he
like
did.
2 years.
Wow.
And that's
But
where the chapter ends.
Yeah, but one of the things that I noticed too, one of the things I
This-
noticed was Robbie was not present, because remember who Robbie is. He's Antonio
Yes.
reincarnated.
Right.
He wasn't present.
So
He-
during all the confusion, where was he? He was there.
No,
there.
he was
Well,
not. He was not in the room. He was
right.
in a different room.
Right. He was in the
So
house.
he never actually heard that, and that was actually a blessing too, because who knows his spirit, if they hear, knowing that when Susanna's mentioning everything he did in his previous life, if that would have shook him to the core.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because
that's
he
true.
was
He was
Antero's
spared that.
reincarnation.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Antero in previous life.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Magdalena also, well, it doesn't matter anyway, because Cyril died, because when she was done, she said, she told, she introduced Robbie to Cyril and said, take care of Robbie when I die, because he's our son. But he died.
Oh,
so.
she was able to say that. I don't even remember.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And he said that he felt this connection to Robbie, and he told her with his heart that, yes, I'll take care of him. Yeah. So.
Wow. So at this moment, summarizing, Susanna, well, let's go back from the beginning. So Magdalena died,
Yes.
but Cyril saw her and
Yes.
discovered that Susanna did this horrible plot and separated him from the love of his life.
Yes.
Immediately he understands Alcyone is his daughter.
Yes, that's the other thing. Yes.
Working like a cleaning lady in his house, taking care of the house and her sister, because his sister is her half sister.
Right.
And then Cyril has a heart attack and also dies. And now Magdalena is alone, taking care of Robbie, the young sister, the half sister, and her stepmother became mentally ill.
Yes. And Beatrice has a fiance. I don't know if they're engaged or whatnot, but I think she's gonna go off with him because
Oh yes, I remember.
Yeah.
I
remember. And Alcyone told Beatrice, don't tell anybody outside the family, what has transpired. So don't tell your fiance that you're actually my sister or half sister. So the fiance doesn't really know.
Oh my God. So I don't remember. I'm trying to understand financially. Did she get anything to survive? Like after having a father so rich and she's so poor, did her half sister leave her with any type of? I remember the half sister
She did.
I think in future
live with her.
She did. She did. Cyril left her part of his fortune.
Oh, okay.
Happens along the later on.
Later.
I think like Cyril takes a moment to take Susanna out of the will. So like Susanna gets nothing. It was basically split between Beatrice and Alcyone.
Yeah, but Alcyone is the one taking care of Susanna, isn't it? Susanna is not put in an institution.
Yes. She did
with her.
Yes.
Yeah, my God, that's how I remember Susanna started becoming really crazy and very loud, and Alcyone is the one that is able to calm her down, but she really doesn't. She's always feeling that she's being persecuted and haunted by all kinds of people. Wow.
Yes.
That's an amazing chapter, Yvonne. This was like the most amazing chapter ever. It's like, I think this one I can compare to the chapter where they plot against this couple. That are the two most powerful chapters. It's like the plotting when it really happened, and the discovering, because I never imagined it was going to be like that, because Alcyone descent, it's trying to hide it from anyone, and then boom, when it has to happen, it will happen.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
I was gonna say, yeah, between this one and the final chapter, that's another one that's that shakes everything to the core.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
That one I cried and cried even more than this one. That one was like, oh, you think this is the worst thing ever? No, there's
more.
Worse.
Yeah. Two ships passing in the night, kind of.
Yeah.
In the end.
Yeah. No, and then we think, oh, these are things that just happen in soap operas, but not really. This type of thing, it happened. And nowadays it still happens, but nowadays there are cameras everywhere. There are witnesses. Like I don't know if you, Brian is from Florida, Sonia, you are too, but I think all over Florida there is that video that was taken from a drone of two teenagers throwing gigantic garbage bags in the ocean from a yacht. They were in a yacht, and they were emptying the garbage that were inside the yacht in the ocean.
Oh,
yes, I saw it.
This was a drone. Was not like another boat. Was a drone. I don't even know how the drone was filming something, and turned and saw the boat like jumping in the waves like crazy, and these two men throwing garbage in the ocean. That was like painful. But they never imagined they were going to be discovered, and boom, technology discovered. But as we know, in the 1600s, there was no technology. That was nothing. That's why so many crimes were totally not discovered.
Yeah.
But as we always say, God sees everything, knows everything, knows even how many threads of hair we have, and one day we will have to be accountable by what we did, good or bad. So that's the important thing. So let's behave.
Angie, do you remember way back, and this is one of the earlier symposiums we had at Dr. Schwartz? And I remember because I had to jump in for Elsa. She couldn't make it. And I mentioned the psychoscope. And then Gary Schwartz mentioned the same thing. He's like, that psychoscope thing, I'm wondering if I'm not working on that. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember Dr. Schwartz. I don't remember many details, but
because the psychoscope was written in what I think it's Missionaries of the Light, or maybe it was not Solar.
Missionaries of the Light, yeah.
So so I just remember reading it, and I was talking about it, about the psychoscope and how it's used to go through a person's life. It's like, and like, can you imagine, like, we're talking about drones and everything else? Imagine pretty soon if we are not able to start reading the, to use another phrase, Akashic record of a spirit, and start having a psychoscope here on Earth. Yeah. Instead of just being in the spiritual world, but making it material. Imagine what that would do.
Wow.
I I don't doubt of anything anymore. So many things I said, oh, this will never happen. Boom, it happened. So everything is possible.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everything is possible. Maybe later on this will happen. And many things that Chico Xavier told us that the spirits told him this will happen on earth. It's just that we need to wait for the proper time. So everything is possible.
Yes.
And then linking in with my other study of planetary transitions with another Alcyone in it, because that's where the spirits from Alcyone have come to Earth to help push us into the world of regeneration.
Oh yeah.
So and like I was saying, it's like if the very first chapter of that book is the tsunami in Indonesia, which was wrote 2003, 2004.
94, wasn't it?
2004. And so it's like, okay, if Manuel Miranda wrote this book or took part in that and then wrote the book shortly thereafter, that's a possibility that those people that you see in that book that he helps reincarnate are in college right now.
Wow.
So we will see their impacts in the near future, and who knows if they are the ones that have the innate knowledge, because they did come from a higher sphere, higher realm. They're the ones that are going to buck the trend and come in here and saying, no. I remember somehow we feel like we need this, and next thing you know, they'll invent this new technology that will bring us more enlightenment. They'll change our perceptions to take into account and think and start changing our mindset away from what we have been for thousands and thousands of years, and actually think of each other as brothers and sisters and actually promote the love between.
I totally believe it. I totally believe it. So when we start seeing lots of it, we have already been seeing so many things that we never imagined, and the now things that for us right now are common, like Uber. Think about Uber. A few years ago, Uber was like a concept that, like, what? Taking my car to transport people and being paid for this? We didn't think about it. Airbnb, renting my own house, like publicly. So, things that we never thought, and it's an easy concept right now. But in the beginning, when they just thought about that, it's like, wow, anything is possible. Maybe they're gonna, like we have a camera to use under the water. Maybe they're gonna create a camera. We already have cameras that can see in the dark, cameras that can detect the movement, camera that can detect the aura. But soon we're gonna get a specific camera to talk to spirit. So we don't need even a medium. You will have the camera, and they're like, okay, let's have our mediumship session. I totally, it's possible. It will happen.
Anything.
It will happen. So, Yvonne, thank you so much. Great work, especially last minute. Really fantastic. It was a blessing. Thanks a lot. Yvonne, Tonya, now is with you to close the book. Will be the grand finale. And we'll be here to support you. So let's be prepared to cry.
I'll try not to talk too fast.
You will have to do 3 chapters. So 3 chapters is not easy. But so, Yvonne, could you please do our final prayer so we can close it?
Oh, before we do that, we decided on the book we're doing after this, or we...
Oh my God! Look at you! Look at this! We didn't even finish this one. You're already thinking ahead.
Well, if we're finishing a book next week, we should have one to start.
Right.
Well, I have to rethink. I don't know. I want people to be engaged. It makes me very upset when we start with 20 people, and we end with 4. So it's really upsetting, very upsetting. But I really would like to have more people like you all, that you got the commitment, even if you already finished the book, you decided to continue talking to the ones that are not here. So hopefully they can at least listen to what they started. So
Yes.
At this moment, I'm not prepared to start another book. I really would like to have more engagement. And but if you guys want to start something, my goodness, that would be fantastic. But me, to put a commitment, I need to have more engagement from the people that go to the center. And look at us 4 here. I am the one that goes to the center, but you 3 don't even go to the center, and you are so committed. This drives me crazy. You are
I've been to your center once or twice.
Committed, and the physical people are like, it's okay. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
But let's see how it's gonna be. And summertime in Florida is another difficulty. Every time it's summertime, people travel, they don't go back to the center until forever. Many centers in Florida, they even close. Conscious living closes during.
Wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to close. I want to continue, even with the few people that go to the center. But this always happens. Summertime, people travel, and then
It's out and all that.
yeah, difficult. But let's see. I'm happy that you guys are really into it. But let's think about. Sonia, could you do our final prayer?
Lord, Mother and Father, thank you for letting us get together and we're talking about this wonderful book that is teaching us a lot of things about our spiritual realm, and keep us together. And like Angie said, also let us all get more people in so we can continue doing your work. So be it.
So be it.
So be it.
Very beautiful, my friends. Very beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for the help. And let's talk about the next book.